All right, Fig, thank you for joining me. Maybe we could start off with a quick primer on what Squid is, and then jump right into some questions. Just for context, we're really proud kind of partners and collaborators of Squid and have known you for many years, and so excited to be chatting.
Yeah, really excited to be chatting on the internet. And I remember we met a long time ago, and we just like there was an instant fit between the two teams. So really excited to be here. Squid is a cross-chain API and product for moving tokens between chains, swapping. We're on about 100 chains, tens of thousands of tokens, and you can swap any token for any token in one click. Not sure what else to add. I mean, we've got about 1,000 integrators. We're in big teams like MetaMask, some institutional things, stablecoins, a lot of retail apps and DeFi apps. And yeah, we've been around for about 4 years. The product launched 3 years ago. Done 5 billion in volume.
Amazing. Um, yeah, I feel like you said all those stats so calmly, but every single one of those things was super impressive. Um, in terms of the company, I mean, you started off 4 years ago at this point on all things bridging chain abstraction. We've now seen like chain abstraction become a really hot word in crypto, in wallets, in bridging world, in liquidity world. What does that look like kind of from the inception of the company and now? Is that changing in a way? Like, has the product kind of shifted to how the space has shifted and like what users expect in terms of chain abstraction? Like, walk me through kind of that.
Yeah, yeah, no, great. It's been a really fun story, and we're so lucky to have picked something which really was a problem and still is a problem. Um, Back then, the issue, I ran into it firsthand when I was doing a lot of DeFi, chasing incentives around. I remember Aave had launched on, I think it was Polygon and Avalanche, which at
Mm,
first I was like, what are these? There are other chains like
yeah.
and they're EVMs, but Avalanche is sort of an EVM, but isn't really. So it was all this confusion around if I want to go and get the incentives of Aave on another chain, I have to first understand what it is and then get a wallet that supports it. And then I have to work out how to move my assets across. And it was just such a scary process that it, yeah, we wanted to build Squid. But also, I guess I like was really impressed with how Ethereum um, brought like the dream of blockchain of like visibility, self custody. Anyone in the world can interact with anyone else in the world, all like together in this programmable environment. But then once you break that into two chains, even, let alone the hundreds and thousands of chains that have actually launched since then, you you lose that like amazing blockchain thing of just interoperability is the key word, but it's just if one person can interact with another person or they can interact with another smart contract. So I guess I wanted decentralized apps to be able to replace centralized apps, and in order for that to happen, we're going to need really, really easy swaps between any token, no matter what chain they're on.
Yeah.
And that's what we went after. We actually went really hard just at that. Like any to any was our first thing,
Mm,
and but along that way, that our competitors, like maybe rightly so, focus just on say moving USDC between chains or moving just ETH between chains,
yeah.
rather than getting any token in any instantly. So we've kind of all eventually now converged. We focused on getting anything, but we were a bit more expensive, and they were faster and cheaper, but could only get ETH or USDC.
Or
Now we're
Nasdaq.
all sort of coming together. We're like extremely cheap now. They're able to start getting like any token, and we're in this place where like everyone offers amazing products. Um, yeah, you can get any token really cheaply within seconds now on any chain, and instantly. Interestingly, though, the wallet layer is what has probably been the most recent thing, and I think still not fully solved. Like you guys are obviously leading the charge, but there's this abstraction piece of now you can get any token, but we want it to look like Coinbase or Binance or Robinhood. And how do you do that in a self-custodial, decentralized way? You need the wallet layer. You need to deal with gas abstraction, with approvals and EVMs, like all this stuff. I think is more at the layer above us, like the wallet layer, rather than what we do.
Yeah.
Love to talk about that at some point, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, we were just talking about this before we went live, but the idea that the wallet is like upstream of the decisions people make. And
yeah,
then after that, it's all the liquidity stuff and it's the bridging and the on-ramping and how do you actually get your asset in a useful place on
yeah,
chain. Um, what you mentioned on how you guys started with any token anywhere is really interesting because I think to your point, it's really different from how other bridges started.
yeah.
Um, can you walk me through why you guys made that decision? Is that to do with kind of your background and like how you were DeFi farming and like playing around with those tools and realize like there was utility for tokens beyond just USDC or Ethereum? Like why that approach?
Yeah, it was two-pronged. I think well, we were right about one of them and wrong about the other. Let's start with the thing we were wrong about. So one of the thesis we had back then was that this DeFi Lego thing of you can get a lending product and pair that with a DeFi protocol, like Uniswap, and pair it with a vault, and then keep layering on these like DeFi primitives. Um, that was something amazing in Ethereum, but just hasn't materialized in a cross-chain world because it's so hard to plug things in together across environments. Um, it's a bit technical, but on one chain everything's synchronous and you can do it instantly. Like the you can plug things in as if they're part of the same machine, but across chain, it's just a little bit slow and like unpredictable.
Yeah.
So we built thinking that if we were going to have DeFi Legos across chain, you need swaps because say I want to have say a product which invests tokens across all chains, and they just want to have one product. Uh, you invest some $100 in, and then it puts 50 in RV here, 20 in RV there,
Right.
30 in Morph over here. To do that, you need to swap your USDC originally across into like USDT on Binance and then maybe USDC on Solana and like maybe it's ETH you're actually wanting to lend on Polygon. So we thought we had this vision of this like interoperable across tokens. You need swaps and then you also want to do programmable actions. And we were really well built for that, but it's just turned out to not be a very good use case. Like people just want to gamble and swap and
Yeah.
or invest, and then a lot of the more like DeFi stuff is happening within ecosystems, like just on chain,
Mhm.
on one chain.
Yeah.
That's what we've seen, at least for now. So that was partly why we went down the swap route. But the thing we were right about is that if we want to get to this place where DeFi can replace Coinbase and Binance, like the main app of crypto, which is just investing in tokens, you need swaps. So
Yeah.
we were like just going that for that from the beginning. Yeah.
That makes sense. It's interesting that you're seeing a lot of the DeFi activity happen in certain ecosystems and have that be concentrated instead of this like multiple hop, skip, and jump route that you initially
Exactly.
thought. We see a
Yeah.
lot of the similar things in the
Yeah.
wallet world, so that really aligns.
Totally.
Sorry, you're about to say something.
Well, the other thing about that is that I think the deregulation of crypto is another reason why that thesis was wrong, and that we originally thought like Terra had just collapsed, FTX had collapsed, like crypto was very the tornado cash guys in jail. It was pretty rough back then, and we thought that if anyone was going to build these like decentralized investing applications, it would have to be fully autonomous and no human is at the controls. But now, basically every company in crypto is fully like really centralized. A lot of these guys, and they can get away with it because of say Trump's in power and like a lot of countries are following. So it's actually much more efficient to do cross-chain investing from a centralized point of view. You just give someone your money and they
They
manage it.
handle it.
Maybe they'll use
Yeah.
Squid under the hood, but you don't need Squid to do the automation anymore
Yeah.
because someone can just sort of do it manually. Um, so that was another reason why, yeah, why we
That
didn't.
makes sense. I mean, it sounds like a lot of assumptions have shifted since the shifts in regulation, the shifts in the market, and
Yeah.
since the company started.
Hmm.
Um, we obviously think about composability a lot in terms of the wallet layer, but I'm curious how you've thought about that in terms of routing and the other layers of the liquidity stack between all these different players, like the wallet side, the stablecoin side, paymasters, bundlers. One thing we're seeing with stablecoins is we talk about this a lot in fiat world. $1 in your wallet is the same as $1 in your Amazon balance.
Mm.
In crypto world, one USDG is very different from one USDC or one USDT, and where they can be used and the liquidity surrounding it is really different. And so, very curious on how you're thinking about this in these layers.
Yeah, I didn't actually know that. I mean, or definitely they're less like USDG might be usable in some apps, but not usable in others. Maybe I didn't know that they were valued differently. Um, I think. I mean, the dream is you just show a USD balance and you
Right,
spend it, and then under the
right.
hood, something like Squid is converting it into the stablecoin you need to pay on the app you want to pay for. And that's still my dream or like vision is that you you just have an account and you can spend it wherever you want. It doesn't matter where in the globe it is, what currency they prefer, and we'll see if that pans out. Because with players like Stripe coming in, they'll probably have their own stablecoin and payments ecosystem. How much are they going to lock that down? Like, will you actually be able to swap from USDC into Stripe's coin to pay with on Stripe, or are they going to be like, no, you need to be holding Stripe coin to begin with? I guess that's still yet to be answered, but ideally it remains like open, and I could just be holding Bitcoin. I have my balance always in 100% Bitcoin, and whenever I spend, it swaps from Bitcoin into whatever stablecoin is needed that the merchant wants, and you can pay. And it ends up looking a lot like Visa in that case, because that's what Visa does. They have their network between all the banks, who are essentially different stablecoins, and when you want to pay at a store, your bank essentially sends money to the store's bank via Visa, and we had this like dream of with sort of a decentralized Visa at the beginning.
Mm.
Um, with stablecoins, we kind of are filling that role. Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. I mean, the what you mentioned on having stablecoins, different kinds of stablecoins feel like one one kind of unit of value that exists, and then something like a bridging solution handles the exact denomination and asset and where it's going under the hood. I think is the same paradigm we saw with L2s, where like there's that famous Vitalik blog post, and he has a screenshot of all the assets that are all his like Ethereum on these different L2s, and it's like Ethon Optimism and Ethon Base and whatever.
Mm.
Ultimately, to the user, that's just they're holding Ethereum, and how it needs to move just depends on kind of the intent of how they're trying to move the transaction and where they want it to go. Um, so that makes a lot of sense. Are you guys seeing a lot of like stablecoin demand right now? Is that kind of where a lot of the volume is coming from, or what does that look like today?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
cool.
70% of our volume might be stablecoin swaps and
Wow.
bridging. Yeah,
Okay.
it's high. It's
Is
actually
it
decreasing though. It was more before, and I think that's along the lines of what I shared around. We took swaps first, but the demand was actually for bridging at first because most of the way people thought about cross chain is, oh, I need to bridge, and then I'm going to use the USDC or USDT that I bridge to do
yeah.
something. Whereas I think we're finally seeing the apps built in a nicely abstracted way so that the user doesn't even need to bridge, it's just happening under the hood. So the mindset's shifting now where you can just swap from asset to asset, and you don't separate bridging and swapping in your mind. Um, yeah, if that.
That makes sense. And is this stablecoin volume you're seeing, is that primarily in USDC or is it another stablecoin?
No, it's across a bunch. Yeah, USDC and USDT are the big ones, but
Okay.
um, yeah, we're partners with a stablecoin called USDX and Cello's
Is this
stablecoin USD.
USDX a scroll, right? Or
They're not Scroll, no, they're Singaporean based. They've got like a yield bearing stablecoin.
oh, cool.
Um,
Okay.
um, yeah, I've got those two, and then usually a lot of ecosystems actually have their own stablecoin now. So
Definitely.
often, whenever you go into that ecosystem, you'll swap directly to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Um, in terms of the unit of value that you're seeing uh, for kind of any sort of like liquidity movement on chain, do you see stablecoins becoming that kind of unit of value for the future? Something that we've talked about in these spaces before is like the concept of like 0.000 ETH is
Mm.
so confusing to end users. And stablecoins as a denomination just tends to make more sense for
Yeah.
end users. And I'm curious if I know you guys are interfacing with apps that have users, but indirectly, if you're seeing any sort of feedback at the user layer of like what people do expect from the UX and like the usability side of things.
Yeah, great question. I think, yeah, stablecoins will definitely be used as or even just, like I said before, USD will be how they are shown fees. And yeah, we, in our interface right now, we've just got basic features, like we show the fees in USD value
Yeah.
instead of, even though you might be paying some of them in ETH technically.
Yeah.
And then we also have a USD. You can switch the input to USD. So you want to send $10 of ETH, it's much easier to just put 10 in rather than go and calculate, is it 0.003 or something. So we've got those. But I think the way that cross-chain is going at the moment with intents, you don't even necessarily need to move something across chain anymore. It's like you lock up your side of the trade for the market maker to see, and then the market maker will, or the solver will fill your order directly with whatever token you want. There's no actually movement of funds across chain. And then our protocol will like verify both of them, and both the fill and the escrow, and the escrow will get released to the market maker. So there's actually no, what used to be in Squid, we would actually send USD, like bridge
Oh,
USD
interesting.
across, and then we'd swap it on dexes from there. But we're actually at the point when no assets actually move between chains. Um, and so yeah, often it will be USDC that you're moving, but it could just be ETH to BNB, and there's no
Yeah.
stablecoin needed anymore. Um,
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And that shift in the protocol
Mm.
was a recent thing. The fact
That's
that
yeah,
you okay.
totally, yeah, that's happened in the last like year or so.
Cool.
We call it Coral. It's the cross-chain order routing and auction layer, and yeah, we're really proud of it. Really efficient. The gas costs are extremely low. You can move, 1 cent of anything across chains
Wow.
because the fees are lower than 1 cent. You can send like tiny amounts. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say that Coral sounds I have some knowledge of the bridging space, but Coral as a concept seems like something that not a lot of other providers are attempting or doing. And so I had no idea that you guys were not actually moving and kind of talking to Dexes yourself.
Mm.
That's really awesome. Is there anything more you want to say about that? Because I feel like I
Sure.
mean
Yeah. If you want to know about it, yeah,
yeah.
it's um, how can I describe? I guess so. We currently Squid is aggregating about 120 dexes, 130 maybe across all these different chains, and we use the liquidity there. But we noticed that using dexes on chain has a few issues. It's expensive because you have slippage on AMMs and you have gas costs from an AMM has to do all this logic on chain in the smart contracts. And if you're even on Arbitrum and Base, where the gas costs are pretty low, you still end up paying, sometimes 10, 20 cents, which is huge. It's like insanely high. And what intents do is they bring that logic off chain, and you essentially agree on a price with the market maker off chain. Instead of swapping USDC to ETH on Aerodrome, you'll swap it just you'll say, market maker's happy to give you this much ETH. And then you submit that on chain. And all that happens on chain is like the absolute minimum. It's basically, it transfers your money over to them and their money over to you. And so we minimize the gas cost, which is huge in cross chain, and you get minimized AMM fees, slippage, all these things. And also, what it lets you do is you can aggregate, rather than just aggregating AMM liquidity, you can aggregate market makers as well. So market makers, what power Binance and Coinbase and OKX, all these exchanges are powered by these same people. We can now provide that liquidity in the same way on
Mm-hmm.
chain. So
Cool.
I think more and more, like, at least the big assets will just be provided by these market makers most of the time. And especially across chain, it's so much more efficient because it's instant, and there's no like, we had issues with like failure rates every now and then. We had about a 1 in 200 orders would just fail because there's some slippage on the other chain between when you submitted the transaction and when it gets to the other chain, and we're just like eliminating all of that.
Mm.
It's sort of getting crypto up to speed with how TradFi works and trying to get the capabilities like um, good enough to compete. Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
that makes a ton of sense. Um, all right, last question on my side, and then we'll go to like lightning, more fun
sure.
questions.
Yeah,
Yeah, in terms of kind of cross-chain UX, you mentioned this earlier, that there's kind of a lot of upstream things around wallets, identity, how people interact with trying to go cross-chain. Where do you think that world needs to land in order for Squid to really make sense and for those to really fit well together?
totally. Um, I think there's two main things. The only things left to me that haven't really been solved are the gasless thing, which maybe it's solved in EVMs, but it's not solved on like all the other random chains that we not random,
Sure.
but all the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
chains. What?
Right. Like
So
cross ecosystem, like truly like ecosystem. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's that, and then the other thing is kind of what you hinted at before. The what assets are people going to be moving around? I think how it should ideally be presented to users is, um, that same thing that Vitalik said. He's got ETH, but he's actually got ETH on like 10 different chains. We should just decide one chain, or at least the application developer should just decide every time we're getting ETH, we're getting it on base. Like, full
Mm.
stop. You're never holding ETH on any other chain.
Oh, they make a decision on what chain it gets routed to
Yeah,
every
the
time. Oh, interesting. So it's not even a
right.
display thing, it's a bridging question.
Well, yes. Under the hood,
Oh,
it means where actually wherever they will request us to swap the ETH on base to USDC on Solana, because it's
right.
now with Coral, the protocol I described, and other solutions, it's basically the same cost to swap ETH on base to USDC on Solana than it is to swap ETH on base to USDC on base. So you can now choose. I'm always going to have ETH on base. I'm never going to bother with ETH anywhere else. And I'm always going to have my USDT on BNB and never bother with anywhere else. And when you want to withdraw and deposit from the system, you're actually, even if they're depositing from Tron, you do
Mm.
a bridge from Tron to BNB because that's where the USDT is on your app.
Is
And
existing, yeah.
it gives you that like simplicity to handle anything you want to do in the app. Like you can track assets much more easily. They can spend them in one go. Um, so yeah, I think gasless and then that approach is going to solve probably the rest of the cross-chain abstraction. And using you guys like email, like login, super easy
Yeah.
login, and then bridging, and you're done. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I haven't heard that take of the application developer needs to make a decision on what assets their chain will live on always and just handle it at the get-go. The argument that the cost is actually it works out in a way that that is possible makes I didn't realize that that was the current math. And so that's a really interesting position. I mean, it's interesting. We talk to application developers all the time, and there's very because of the time and you know how much effort it takes to build an app. There's very little room to kind of innovate on some of this, and having kind of templates or kind of frameworks we can share at the get go for some of these approaches is what we're
yeah.
really excited about. So that's we
Nice.
should chat about that. That's really
Yeah, we got
yeah
internally, and we kept it kind of close because we're building our own app as well, and like we were going to use it for
yeah.
that. But maybe we could put it turn it into a standard and share it with the world and
Mm.
just open source it. That's maybe a good idea.
Super cool. All right, hot takes and fun questions.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what are you the most excited about? Either like from your roadmap perspective, like big things coming for Squid, like it could be crypto wide. Like, what are the things that you're amped about
Mm,
yet this year?
nice. I mean, I can't. I have to say we're releasing a version 2 of Coral, which is what I shared.
Oh, okay. Yep.
That really is so cheap. It's. I was doing a trade. I was using in our testing environment earlier today, and the gas costs on base to go from Arbitrum to base, the cost is 1.8 cents. on 0.18 cents.
Oh,
So like,
yeah, I was
just
like,
absurdly low for a cross chain swap. I want to try an Ethereum and see where it lands, but that's going to really bring up our reliability rates as well. I think it should almost be zero
wow.
failures. The way it's built, it's like it's really exciting. It's going to let us go to a bunch of new chains. So
Mm.
we I can't really talk about them, but the rest of the year was like full of chain launches for us. So once Coral V2 is out, we'll just be like rolling that out to new chains one by one.
Gotcha.
You'll see, yeah. And I just can't wait to share the costs because we're winning about 40% of the trades in MetaMask, where they aggregate maybe like ten providers. And with this new like pricing improvement, maybe we get up to 60, 70, 80%.
Yeah,
And yeah, that'd just be really cool for Squid.
amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize the 40% in MetaMask. That's still considerably high.
Massive. Yeah.
Yeah,
Considering how
exactly.
many other providers there are, yeah. I think we're the cheap.
Wow.
I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe we're the cheapest.
interesting. Okay, great. And anything around Dev Connect? Are you guys gonna be there? Are you guys throwing down for it? What's
We
the
aren't. I would be there, but my sister's getting married the same day, or so
Oh my gosh. Okay.
uh, I'm going to be in Australia. But
Oh,
we do have a couple of Squids engineers who are from Argentina, so they might be there.
okay. Cool.
Yeah, love Buenos Aires and so much happening there, so it's sad to not be there, but
Yeah. I mean, you guys
really,
were on a tour. You were doing KBW and Token a
yeah,
few
we just
years
did
back,
that,
but
and
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
it's a lot. Yeah. We're
Yeah, it's
doing Dev Connect Money 2020 this week, but it's close to SF, so it's an hour
nice.
away. It's not a big deal. And then yeah, basically a break point at the end of the year.
Oh my God, okay, you guys are going hard.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful fun.
Break point, I think it's Abu Dhabi this year, so that'll be a flight.
Really?
Yeah,
Man, yeah, long way.
long way. Okay. And then what is your hottest take in the bridging space in terms of like, yeah, just your hot take.
Let me think.
And
I think,
it can't be anything about your product in general.
yeah, sure. I mean, my take related to bridging space, maybe that's hot, is I think the account abstraction stuff on EVM is misplaced
Mm.
because you are necessarily going to need to account abstract chains that have no intention of building something similar. So we need a solution for account abstraction and gasless, which is off chain basically. Like you need a way of bringing
That is
it
a hot take.
away from smart contracts. And a lot of that work I think is just not going to matter. Maybe it'll matter for some really
Mm.
like EVM specific ecosystems. Like it's really amazing stuff, but we need to service Solana and Hyperliquid and Ripple and Stellar and Sui. Like it's just never going to catch up to those ecosystems in my opinion. So it's better to use like trust execution environments or use like custody providers like you guys like self custodies. If you can build something that is cross ecosystem, I think it would supersede anything that is built like in one ecosystem.
That is definitely a hot take. I mean, like there's a lot of kind of people that believe a lot of that logic should exist on chain, but the way we've seen it, exactly. If you're building a cross-chain app,
Yeah,
it's hard to have some of those smart accounts and setups move in a meaningful way cross-chain that doesn't just completely obliterate the UX.
yeah,
Um, ooh, interesting. Okay, so you feel like a lot of the UX problems are concentrated at this like gas abstraction and bundling problem on
yeah,
chain.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. It should be
okay.
at your level, really. I think Para could build like a gas abstraction, account abstraction thing, and because you support all these chains already, if you can like do it in a way that is universal to all of them, that's like 100 times better. In fact, infinitely times better than the
Mm,
EVM specific ones because no one wants to just have an EVM app. Like some people do, but if you want to access to all the tokens, you're gonna need to
cross-chain's fine.
um, have some other chains. Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating. Okay, well, we are at time, my friend.
Great.
Um, I'm so glad we did this, and also got in our catch up. There's a couple things I now want to text you about, so take that offline. But thank you for joining.
No worries. Thanks so much for having me. Really great to chat, and yeah, let's
Cool.
chat soon.
Sounds good. All right.
Thanks everyone for listening.